Hello and welcome to the channel, guys, and today is going to be the first retrofit that we're going to do on the Porsche. I've had this for a few weeks now, and the one thing I am really missing with this being a 2015 model is having CarPlay. So we're going to look at installing that, getting rid of the old infotainment screen, and also chucking in a chrono clock as well. So today's mission is going to be working on the infotainment system on the Porsche and modernising that. We've got the 2015 model here, we've modernised the external of the car, and I want to be bringing the inside up to the same standard as the outside essentially. So with that, we've gone to our favourite place, Alibaba again, and we've got in here a nice new head unit. So I've gone for this head unit, which has actually got the bezel toggles. And now looking at this, a lot bigger screen than what we've got in the car at the moment, and completely changes where your actual air vents are coming from. So they're now underneath the actual screen, which is what they're like in the later model of the Cayenne. Now, because we're going to be going to do quite a lot of work getting this in place, what I also wanted to do whilst doing that, kind of kill two birds with one stone, is I wanted to fit on the additional chrono clock, which goes in the centre of the dash. Managed to get hold of an original one from a hybrid Cayenne. So it's got matching acid green dials on there, and it'll fit in really nicely and will look basically factory, because if you'd expect it with this, this is exactly how it would come. Now with this, I've basically opted for the harder route, so it's not got the plug and play kit on the end. You can get these adapter cables with that, so it's literally you just unplugging behind the entertainment unit straight into it. But the way I've done it is a little bit cheaper, so instead of paying 70 quid for instance or something like that for the adapter, pay maybe £10 for this, I'll have to solder these in behind the entertainment system instead. But yeah, essentially this will really modernise the look of the interior and bring it up to what the externals look like at the minute. So really excited to get this in, and this is the one big thing I think that's going to make a difference on a daily basis for me, with being able to have the CarPlay on there.
So first thing you have to do to get the original head unit out is disconnect the air vents. So this is as simple as getting a flat blade screwdriver, and you have 4 tabs within the actual air vent itself, and you'll see they'll get to a position where they stick out if you just put your hand underneath and pull towards you a little bit, and then eventually they will unseat and you'll be able to pull that whole thing towards you. You've then got one cable that goes into the back of the actual air vent as well on each side. I'm not sure exactly what that's for, to be honest, but it's not something that we've got the capability of plugging back in with the new head unit, so hopefully that's not going to cause any issues further down the line. Once the air vents are removed, you'll see that there's actually 4, 2 on either side, spline bolts. You've simply got to undo them. They're the only fixings that are actually holding the head unit in at this point. So once you've done that, you can pull the head unit towards you, and then you're ready to unplug all the connections at the back.
Right, so I think that's actually the simplest infotainment system I've ever seen to actually take out. All I've got to do now is disconnect the cables here at the back. Once I've done that, it's literally ready to be offered up with the new infotainment unit. Before I get to that point, I want to do the chrono, so I'll talk you through how you can retrofit that in. Just a case of me disconnecting these now, and then it'll be no time before the new unit's in.
Right, so to install the chrono clock, what we need to do is, with a trim removal tool, prise out the plastic cover on the centre of the dash. Just take your time with this, make sure you don't actually damage any of them retainers. They seem to come off pretty good for me, but something I'd always warn anyone of with all the plastics and clips. Once that's off, we're going to feed down the wiring harness that we've got. There is space at the back, and you can just literally post it through, and then from underneath where the head unit's pulled out from, pull it back towards you. Just make sure you've got enough slack on that, both up at the top and at the bottom, to be able to do your connections. Now, when it comes to the wiring, it's pretty straightforward, but it did take me a little bit of time doing a bit of research to actually find out which colours I needed to solder into. This was mainly because the harness colours didn't match what the original harness colours would have been. But if you do want to avoid this and have a simpler way of actually fitting this in, as I said earlier, there is an adapter cable that you can get plug and play, so you've not got to mess around with any of this bit of the wiring section or doing any of the soldering.
Okay, so that's soldering up done, and I've gone through a few wiring diagrams. I'll show you guys what I've used to do this. But because the colours for my adapter cable were different to what I'd seen on a couple of the other videos, I had to fathom that out. And the way I did that is the actual plug top here has got numbers on it. Just wait for the camera to focus. There you go. So you've got 1 to 6 on there, and obviously you can just look at the back there. So number 1 is actually red, and then number 6 ends up being a black. So knowing that, and with the wiring diagrams that you can see now,
So we've got the black on the red and yellow, the red on the ground, which is the brown, and then we've got these which are like your orange and violets and orange and browns that are going to the other two cables. So they're all connected in now. I'm soldered in on these ones, crimped in on those ones. I'll tape all that up, put it back in, and then we'll get the chrono clock on the dash, make sure that works, and it's in with the new infotainment system. Refitting the trim panel and chrono clock, it's dead simple. It literally just pushes into position, so you'll hear them retainer clip seat, and you're all good to go. Really glad I did this. Really adds to the interior with the matching acid green dial, giving the appearance of an original factory optional extra. Now, while I can confirm that the clock itself actually works, it's not actually lighting up, so I can't get it to illuminate when the headlights are on as the other gauges will. I'm not sure whether this is a wiring issue or whether it's actually needs to be coded to the car as an option, but if you are aware of exactly what I need to do, then please do drop us a comment below. I'd really appreciate that. So you'll see here that I've actually put the original head unit back in. Now, there is a good reason for this. I did try to fit the new head unit in there, but it just was not happening. I had it all plugged in. I could get it powered up, but I couldn't get any sound through there. So I had to go back and forth with the actual supplier of this. So in the next clips, I'll show you what issues I was having and also a solution to this problem as well. Right, so before we rip this standard system out and put in the aftermarket one, the original head unit, I really actually quite like this. I do rate the PCM unit that you have for the Porsche systems of this era. It's just a shame mine's a little bit of an older one and it's not got CarPlay on this. So that's the big reason for me switching to the new unit. This new Android CarPlay system will really modernise this interior and make it match with the external of the car and the modernisations I've done on there. And then the only other factors then I've got that are going to kind of age this car, it's going to be the dials. So we've got the older dial system here, but I actually quite like having the analog dials, so I'm pretty happy to stick with them. I'm not going to upgrade them at the minute. And then also we've got the original button system here. That's going to be the perfect mix, in my opinion, of new and old, keeping the buttons, keeping the analog dials, but then getting a bigger, nicer screen for all the CarPlay and that sort of good stuff. So before we do another attempt at fitting this new head unit, while I've got both the original and the new unit out, I just wanted to give a side-by-side comparison to them so you can clearly see outside the car the differences here. And now we'll get back inside the car and try and work out what these issues are. Right, so we're actually back in the Porsche now. This is like a week on. I've gone back and forth a little bit with the supplier of this new CarPlay system. I'm having issues with getting the original rear camera to work and show on this. Also had issues with audio. They've not sent me any wiring diagrams. All I've got is a few videos to go off now. So I'm going to give it a go anyway. What I've done initially is just get the back plate out because I've worked out really this unit came as one. It ideally would be split and then you'd put in one section first and then put in the full sort of front after that. So I'll show you that now. These foam sort of sticky backs there for the vent system just to block that up. So if I zoom in here now, you'll just see the bottom of it there just to close any gaps up. So I've put those on either side of them as they touch the vents. So that's now in place. I'm going to screw this back in with the OEM screws, and then what we'll look to do is plug everything in and see if we can get everything functioning the way I think it should. To show you guys how the actual adapter harness goes in here, I've gone to the back of the unit and just done a quick clip of all the adapters physically plugged in. Most of the plugs that you'll be using on the back of here will only go in to certain sockets, so they're pretty easy to tackle. Other antenna cables should be labelled. These that I got were actually in Chinese, so a little bit more hard to understand which should go to which. One that's quite easy to miss though is there is the infrared cable that goes into the back of the main square block from your original system to your head unit. You will have to unpick that from that main block, and you need to be plugging those into the new blue box in my case that I've got here. That is essentially for the Bose sound system, and that sends the audio out from the new head unit, transmitting it through that, then taking it back to your original Bose OEM sound system. Now with all that plugged back in, I was going to go back into the head unit and see whether I could change any settings to get that audio to work. No, we've still got no sound. What I'll do is I'll have a play around with this now, have a look into what I need to change, and then go from there. Let you guys know what I've done.
One eternity later.
Right, so I'm not going to lie guys, this must be about the third or fourth time that I've actually attempted to do this CarPlay unit. I'm hoping it's going to be worth all the battling that I've had with it, but I guess we'll see after this, hopefully, final effort. Right, so as for the cabling, what I've been told I need to do to actually get the sound working on this is put the black to the black there, yellow to the yellow, which is just beneath it there, and then there is a red as well. You can just see it there. So this isn't a plug and play, this is splicing in. This is with a Bose sound system. Now previously I've obviously had all that plugged in, but never got told to do that. And again, this goes back to kind of anything off of Alibaba specifically. You don't tend to get instructions, and because I've not had any instructions, and it's been quite hard as well to find any installation instructions online, it's just been a bit of a nightmare. But hopefully now this will work. So I'll turn the actual car on now and we'll see together whether it does work. If it does, then happy days, I can finally use this system. And then the next battle is going to be, can I get the reverse camera to work, because I've got an original reverse camera on this, and as to yet I've not been able to find the settings to transfer it across. But I think I've got an idea today that I'm going to try, and hopefully that'll work as well. Right, so before I turn the car on, I'm just going to make sure them wires aren't touching, because obviously they're bare at the minute. And straight away, there you go, it's on. Hey! And we do actually have some sound. Fantastic, so that is a win, massive win. So, sorry about the white noise, I'll turn that off for now. So that is the solution essentially to get it actually to work sound wise. I'll now tidy it all up nicely. I can fit everything in properly, feed through all my actual GPS sensors and things like that, and then I'll come back to you guys and show you exactly how I've done the wiring and fitting the actual head unit into position as well. Right, so first a lot of cabling in, and I've done basically the antennae, so they plug into the back of the CarPlay unit there. And what I found is there's this plastic bit of trim, so I basically just disconnected that. That's just wrapped around the back. There's just two clips either side, dead easy. Nothing actually sits in there. I've put the GPS one just on top of this here, fed that through. Long thinner one just behind there, and bunched up the cables to get rid of some of that slack as well. So that's them in there. Now I'm going to battle with the rest of this, make sure I'm taping up all these connections so they don't come loose when I push it back. There should be a lot more space in the back of here anyway, because the actual original head unit is a lot thicker than what we've got here, and we've got a bit of space underneath as well. One thing I do need to remember is to get this trim piece in as well before I carry on, because that is going to be a disaster if that doesn't fit in place, especially now that I've done all that. But I can still disconnect here if needs be to get that in, so I'll get that in position now. And shown you the other day just foaming up these surrounds, and that's just to make sure that there's no loss of airflow through there. That I've just done as I've been pulling it in and out. As I say, I've had to do this a few times, so I'll patch that up now, get this in position, and we'll crack on from there. What you'll see with this air duct is essentially channeling the air downward. It'll go into these, and then that's because you've got your airflow at the bottom there. You do have the two cables either side. These plugs do not now connect into anything, so I'm just going to tuck them around the back, make sure they're fully out of the way, not going to affect anything. Just one either side, and then we'll look at feeding this through. Now, what I've just shown you then is I had to Dremel the bracketry just to allow some of the cabling, the antennas on the right hand side, to actually go through and push back. So I've now done that. This is now ready to be finally pushed back into position, but I just want to do a final check before I do that, just to make sure everything's working. So hopefully now it'll fire up and we'll get some sound. There we go. Sound is all good. Unfortunately, I've not been able to set the rear camera to the factory one. That's something I will be looking to do, so hopefully by the end of this video I'll show you how to do that as well. So now we know the head unit's actually functioning okay, everything's working. I'm gonna push it back, make sure it clips into position. If I do need to get this out again, I'm not sure how I'm going to do that, because when we separated these we did it outside of the car from the back end, but in theory should just hear them clips. So that's a finish. There's a couple of things I want to do. So I want to get like an original sort of startup logo on there, so I'll look at doing that. And then just to show you guys how it looks from the back as well. does look really good, to be fair, and your view of the clock, it's not obscured either, something that I wasn't too sure on, but that's absolutely fine. So yeah, we now have CarPlay and a lot more modern interior. Right guys, so that's the CarPlay system fully operational now in the Porsche, and I'm glad to say everything is now working as it should. It was a lot harder to do than first expected, certainly wasn't plug and play. Now when it comes to operations on here, it's fantastic as you'd expect in the CarPlay function. You've got Waze, you've got Google Maps, you've got everything you want on here. I've got Android Auto, so that's why mine's displaying like this. Obviously CarPlay is slightly different display. Now one issue that I have had with this is with my calls, I've not got a microphone with this kit and it doesn't connect to the original mic in the car, so if you've got hands-free or anything like that, it's really muffled and a really poor quality. So I'm either going to have to fit an aftermarket microphone onto this, so that means taking the whole unit out again, annoyingly, because you've not got the original system in there, it cannot piggyback, and as I say, there's a lot of wires in the back of there that are now unplugged, which make the original Porsche MMI system non-existent essentially. For the price I paid for this unit, I think it was around £700, so that's quite steep I think. For that kind of money I would have expected to have the original MMI system still active in some manner. I'm not 100% on this, to be honest, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to anyone unless CarPlay is literally all you want it for, because the screen is really nice, to be fair. It does really lift the interior and it kind of brings the exterior upgrades that we've done into the cab area, so it certainly is a massive plus for that. But it's just a shame that it doesn't do a little bit more, and it would have been really nice if you could have got the map system there in the gauge cluster, but that's not possible. It'd have to be a complete gauge change I think for that, and at this stage I'm not going to go that far. So yeah, overall a good system, but could be a hell of a lot better. If you are literally just going to be on the CarPlay or Android Auto system of it, then you can't really fault it, to be honest. The microphone is a real issue at the minute for me, but I'm pretty sure that could be quite easily resolved with an aftermarket microphone. I'm personally going to run with this now for a little while, see how I get on, and then what I'll do, I'll come back to it. I may even try the MMI system going back in with the piggyback system, which is basically a circuit board that you can put within the standard head unit. That will obviously date this interior again if I do put that back in, but I probably am going to go ahead with that because you can pick them up for like £100–200, so it's quite a cheap alternative to this. And then I'll review that and compare the two together and see which one I want to actually stick with at that point then. But this has helped you make a decision on whether you actually want to go for one of these units. I've not seen many people actually showing these units and showing what they can't do. A lot of people just focus on what they can do, so maybe they're selling the products rather than reviewing the products. Overall, I'd give it maybe a 6 out of 10. I think the fact that I've paid £700 for this is probably the thing that makes me more disappointed in it. If I'd paid £300–400, then I'd probably give it a higher score. And yeah, I just think it's something for everyone to be aware of, the function limitations that you do have with this. Right guys, so we've used it now for a week or two with it fully installed. I know what works, what doesn't work, what I prefer in the original system and what I prefer in this system. So I'll go through a few of those things and hopefully give you a real good idea as to whether this is something you want to do in your Porsche Cayenne. Remember, this is for any 958, whether it's the 958.1 all the way up to the 958.2, so 2011 to 2017 cars. This is a good way to not just get CarPlay, but change your display as well for a more modern feel and look. That being said, it's nowhere near as intuitive as the original system, so do bear that in mind. This, at the end of the day, is basically a tablet. It's not a functioning car system as a primary, so there are some quirks to it that you do have to sort of live with. If, on the other hand, though, you're literally just going to be using it for CarPlay or Android Auto, as I typically do, then it's no problems at all. You'll see no difference between this or any other vehicle you're using CarPlay in. So in terms of CarPlay Android Auto, this is how your screen is going to show up, and you've got everything you'd expect. This is on Android Auto. That's fantastic to use, to be fair. I have no qualms with this function whatsoever. Now, where I'm not as keen is this. As I say, it's not very intuitive for a car system, so you've basically got this, which is essentially your opening to get you onto your CarPlay, and then you've got this section, which is your mobile phone. Now, one big issue I've got on this, I didn't get an aftermarket microphone, so I was hoping this would tie in with the original microphones in the car. It does not. The only mic that I can see is one here, and that's obviously set up for left-hand drive, and it doesn't seem to be very good whatsoever. So I've had complaints on virtually every call that I've taken for people not being able to hear me very well, and that mic not picking up. So that's a big concern that I've got with this unit. Now, I have ordered an aftermarket microphone that I'll get, and it just means I'm going to have to pull out the head unit again to wire that in at the back. It will literally just be a plug and play thing, that, but it's a bit of annoyance that it didn't come with it, considering the price of the actual unit. Now, this function is basically, if you've got a SIM card in here, you will have Google Maps or whatever you want to set this to straight on here. Now, I've not got a SIM card or anything like that set up on there, so it's not active. I believe you can hotspot to this and use your mobile phone's internet data to be able to use all these functions, but having CarPlay or Android Auto, it's not really a requirement. Everything else on the display is kind of just typical of a standard aftermarket system. It's not tied in any manner to the Porsche OEM system, so again, it's not, as I say, as well put together as your PCM. Now, you've got all sorts of bits and bobs here to go through. I'm not going to go through all of these. I'm literally just going to go onto the settings. Now, when you go into the settings, what I found is mine was set up for a 360 camera. Now, when this function's on, it doesn't actually acknowledge your standard rear camera. So this is the problem I was having before. So now to change back to the standard reverse camera is 1 to 6, and confirm that through reverse camera selection, and then I'm simply pressing the normal, and it's the NTSC. That's the functionality of the standard rear camera. Press enter, press OK. It'll reset, and then that's giving me the functionality of the reverse camera that's fitted as standard. And now that I've done that, we'll just check it. You'll then see that you've got the reverse camera functioning, and as we already know, I've got issues at the minute where I need to make some changes to actually get this camera to sit lower, because this is the original camera that I'm actually using at the minute. And on the newer models, because you've got a different tailgate on here, it does mean that your camera lens has to be dropped down slightly. So that's something that's on the list of things to do, and hopefully we'll get to the bottom of that. There's other functions as well. If you go into here and put 4/8, that then also takes you into a sub menu. So here you've got the logo settings. Now, what I've done is I've uploaded these logos myself. It didn't come with these, so originally it just came with this one. Now, to transfer these over into this, you do need to use your USB port. That's something you do have to bear in mind when you fit this in. If it's not got any of these preset on there, then you will need access to that USB to be able to upload information to the head unit itself. Now, you'll see on here that I've got multiple images that I've uploaded. What I found was none of these would actually show correctly on the monitor, so I had to stick with this one. And basically, to set that, you just press in logo set there. Now, what that means is when you've set that, if you restart, this is what you'll get on the entry screen. Unfortunately, your secondary one is still powered by Android. I've not been able to actually change that, only the first one. And what you'll find as well is it won't always go into the full reboot. It typically will only do that if you've left the vehicle for a couple of days. If it's just overnight, then it will just come up with the powered by Android display. Now, one other thing that you don't get when you fit the system is you don't get the full functionality of the digital gauge. So if you go down, and what you want to be in is the vehicle section, click on that. Then if you go into the settings, click on that, display, and then you can go down to menu scope. And what I've done is anything that wasn't functioning, now that I've fitted the aftermarket unit, I've unticked. So maps doesn't work, Navi doesn't work, and audio doesn't either. And that's because you've not got the original GPS antennae now plugged into the back of this unit. So it's not picking up any data from that to transfer into this now. I don't like having things visible that are inoperable. So being able to unselect these has massively improved the experience of using this digital cluster again for me. So now when I scroll through here, there's nothing that I feel like I'm missing out on. Everything is still active. One thing that I will say is the speed limit doesn't pick up, because that's linked into the original GPS system. What you'll find is that it'll pick up signs that it can physically see through the radar, but it can't pick up the GPS signal to tell it what some of the speed limits on some of the roads are. So that means then you will get this fault coming up on the dash. Now, it's not the end of the world, it doesn't obviously alter anything, but it is a little bit annoying when that pings about 5-10 minutes into your drive. So overall, I'd say pretty happy with this unit. There's some downsides to it and some things that you do have to compromise on, which is you've not got the original PCM unit sort of display on there, you've not got the original GPS plugged in, so there are some of those sort of quirks to it. And ultimately, if you do want to keep the factory PCM unit, then you want to be going for the PCB board that you can fit into those, that then gives you a piggyback system with the CarPlay, but you've still got all the original functionality that you'd get from the original head unit. With this one, obviously it massively improves the interior aesthetics, and that's really quite important on this car with me doing the upgrades to the exterior as well. I will get round to doing the microphone because that's a massive issue with this at the minute, not being able to take hands-free calls very well. And I will at some point look to do the 360 camera. Now, with this coming with that aftermarket one, I may consider doing it with that and then selling on the original 360 camera system that I picked up. If I can get the same end result with the aftermarket kit, then that could be worth considering for me on this. Now, when it comes to money on this was around £700, and I think for that kind of money, I would have certainly expected to have had a decent microphone on this system, which is a bit of a letdown. I'd have expected it to be a little bit more intuitive in terms of being used as a car system rather than a tablet that's in the car, but that's probably just something to expect on all aftermarket screen replacements that you're doing if you're wanting CarPlay or Android Auto, and just something that I'll have to live with, I guess. I have picked up a PCB for the original system, so I might consider fitting the original system back in and maybe trying to live with that for a couple of weeks and see which I prefer. I think the only thing that would make me stick with this is it does massively modernise the interior and match a lot more with the exterior updates that I've done as well. So yeah, I hope this has been quite a good, useful video for you guys. I hope it's helped you make a decision on whether you want to go for a different head unit, whether you want to stick with the PCM unit and go for that piggyback PCB board. Let me know in the comments which of those options you think is best for your car, and if there's anything that you want to know about this specific unit, again, let me know in the comments and I'll try and answer as many questions as I can about it. And if needs be, I'll do another little bit of a video if you want me to go a little bit more in depth. But other than that, I'll leave you to it. This has been a much longer video to actually make and video to put out on this. I wasn't expecting it to take this long to fit this system in place, and I certainly wasn't expecting this to be a very long video, to be honest, on a CarPlay unit being fitted into a car. But hope you've enjoyed it. I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit the like button. If you've not already, subscribe to the channel, really helps us out, and I'll see you on the next one.